Well, hello, eager young space cadets. Welcome once again to Creepy Cheapies with Dr. Lady. I'm Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, and today's mask for you is an all-time classic, is Fangface. Now wait, hold on, hold up, wait, hang on. I know what you're thinking. You're starting to turn away and look away because you're going, oh, Fangface, yeah, he talked about that one before. Yeah, I've seen this. No, hear me out. Hear me out. Give me just a minute here. You may, if you think you've seen this before, you may be remembering something else that you may have seen. Because you may have seen a segment of Creepy Cheapies that I did some years ago, when I said, 2 or 3 years ago I think. When was that? 2016 or 1916? Somewhere in there. You may have seen a segment in which I told you about how Fangface was a classic Halloween character designed in the 70s by the great Bill Eastrom, who sculpted it for Be Something Studios. And I mentioned how Fangface, even though it wasn't based on a movie, it became super popular as sort of an American Halloween icon, and it was used at every haunted house, and it showed up on billboards and tickets and flyers and posters and so forth for haunted houses and Halloween events, and collectors loved it, and everybody had a Fangface. It came in 2 colors, green or brown, etc. And all that talk about how great Fangface was. I mentioned that it was a shame, I thought, that at the time Trick or Treat Studios had seen fit to re-release only the second version of Fangface, the second sculpture. And in that segment I said, gee, the only thing that could make this better is 2 things really. If they had released the first edition Fangface, and if it had come with a really high quality plush hood like the hoods were back in the 70s when the original Fangface. Well, hang on to your hernias, because that's exactly what happened. A couple of years later, Trick or Treat Studios has now teamed up with Zagoni. Zagoni being the new Be Something, same company, formerly Be Something, now Zagoni. Once again, they have joined forces and pooled resources to keep Fangface all over the dang place for you by reissuing just what I was hoping they would do, the original edition Fangface. And in both colors. You can get either green or brown. This is the first sculpture of Fangface, and here's the great thing, this is vintage fabric. Today's hooded masks tend to just have regular black fabric, either nylon or like a polycotton blend or something. But the masks back then had this really, really deluxe plush like these have. And this is vintage fabric. Now, as I understand it, these are being produced by Zagoni for Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is releasing them. So when you want to look for one online, you're going to want to look for them either on the Trick or Treat Studios website or somebody who sells Trick or Treat Studios masks, because they're not on the Zagoni website. They're made specifically as a special collector edition for Fangface fans and Zagoni fans for release through Trick or Treat. And it is the original sculpture, as I was saying, looks exactly like it did back in the day, maybe even a little bit better in terms of the paint job. Now, how could I say such a thing? Well, let's shop and compare. Okay, let's shop and compare. I just happen to have, awkwardly off camera as usual, I just happen to have an original from 1978, I believe, for your viewing pleasure. It might be a 1977. Anyway, if you will look at these guys up close and compare the coloring and so forth, this is the new edition from Trick or Treat. This one is the 1977 or so original. And you can see high quality plush hood fabric, and if anything, the paint job might be better on the new edition than it was on the originals. And of course the originals have a certain vintage feel and look about them, and they're made of certain vintage latex and so forth. It's a little different today, but to see this this classic character reissued in such a nice form today, so many years later, so many years after his creation, is pretty impressive and pretty cool if you like classic Halloween masks and good old school monsters like Mr. Fangface, or sometimes Mrs. Fangface, because sometimes the green version was called the female Fangface, and the brown one was called Male. They're both awesome. They're not as cheap as the Fangface masks were back then. Back then you could get a Fangface mask for like 40 bucks. Today the reissue will cost you around 80, which is a little, I know, a little steep for a mask that's just a half mask and not a full head, but I'm giving it a thumbs up and recommending it for you anyway for your haunting pleasure because of the pure wonderfulness of it being the original Bill Eastrom Fangface sculpture reissued, and because the hood is of such super high quality. It really is like going back into the past and getting a mask from back in the 70s when masks were just maskier, you know? So Fangface, again, recommended for all your haunting needs. Many different versions out there, so shop carefully. And meanwhile, I only need one more and I could form the Fangface Barbershop Quartet.